Death communication is a process by which I'm able to communicate with people who have died. Now, if somebody had told me 15 years ago that I'd be doing this kind of work, I would have said, you're crazy. But here I am, and it is part of the work that I do. And I never raised my hand and said, oh, please, God, let me talk to dead people. But that's what I've been asked to do. So I find that I work with people who lose someone prematurely due to accident, miscarriage, sudden illness, and there hasn't been an opportunity for closure. And I find that the non-physical world, or the world of the spirit world, if you will, is like being just on the other side of the door, and because there's a physical barrier, you can't really see them, yet they're very much there. And that's sort of been my experience of it. And so it's something that certain clients have found extremely useful in finding closure around the loss of someone suddenly. An example, a woman who had lost her son due to an accident. And I never know or understand the images that I get, but I kept seeing the image of a motorcycle with a beautiful teardrop tank, golden color, with this great red and black lightning bolt on it. Made no sense to me, and he's like showing me that he's standing right next to this motorcycle. Beautiful, would have won a prize at the show. And the woman said, oh, that makes perfect sense to me. She said, I work in heavy construction, and she said, that is what is on my hard hat, is that lightning bolt. So she said, it makes perfect sense to me. Another time I was working with a woman whose dad had died, and every time I tried to make contact with him, I could only see from the knees down. That was the only thing that he was showing me in my mind's eye. And so I said to her, I said, I don't understand this, but I said, all I can see is from the knees down, and his shoes are really, really shiny. I said, like, spit polished, like in the service kind of thing. And she started to laugh. She said, two things about my dad. One, he spit shined his shoes every Saturday. And the other thing he always used to say to me is, you can always tell a man by his shoes. So for her, that was validation that the individual that I was talking to or communicating with was indeed her dad. So I never sort of understand the images that I get, but they usually make perfect sense to the client. It is an opportunity for closure for people. It is an opportunity to have some sense that maybe there is something beyond our physical world. That's not for everybody's belief system. It can be very challenging for some. And for others, it's an incredible sense of relief and connection, and the sense that, that their person who has died is still there, still around, and is still making some sort of connection with them. So it can be an extremely comforting process. But again, it's not for everybody, and it's also something that can be extremely challenging for people's belief system. And for me, it's very much like making a phone call. I start working a couple of weeks before I'm meeting with a client and have the picture of the person who's died. And I basically start making a phone call saying, I'm meeting with your daughter or your son in a couple of weeks. Are you willing to come and have some sort of a dialogue with us? And usually by the time we are ready to meet in a couple of weeks, we're able to make the connection. I do also work with young people who have had sudden death either at their own hand or as a result of accident as well. And that's an extremely challenging process because usually there's a lot of grief, there's a lot of loss, and tremendous angst as a result of the loss of someone so young, be it a child or be it a teenager, young adult. So that is another arena that I find this service useful in. I really refer to it more as grief work than after-death communication, because that really is the process that I'm working within, and it's helping to resolve some of the grief that is still left behind when people are struggling to move on after, say, a suicide or the loss of a child or something like that.